Another year had passed, and Tone was spending Christmas with his family. It was Christmas in Coventry. The place was blanketed with snow. Children were thinking up their Christmas lists. Certain individuals were being offended by the phrase Merry Christmas, and those who were offended didn't give a shit. On the first full day of the 10-day stay in Coventry, Tone went to see Coventry City play Oldham Athletic at home. But before that, a trip to the Coach and Horses was due. Before going to the bar, Tone entered the toilets and saw something extremely surprising. On top of the urinals, there lay something that was furthest from his mind. A Jaeger bomb. Yes, a full Jaeger bomb that somebody, for some reason, had just left there. He reached out and thought, this is mine. But wait! He hesitated then. What if somebody's pissed in it? He then thought. Although, having said that, Red Bull is the same colour as urine. I would continue the story, but I'm not actually reading from a book. I'm just looking at a blank tablet that I got for Christmas. Yes, so moving on to the Chesterfield game, I'll just get straight to it. Well, there was quite a number of changes made to the team, and some of you have said that it is because we're playing 2 games in 3 days. Really? So was everyone else in the country, but I bet they didn't make so many changes to their teams, did they? And it proved to not work out very well because, well, in the first half we hardly created anything. It kept passing the ball sideways, which pisses me off. And what else? If we were playing in the middle of the park, they were just tapping it around. And I have said it the last couple of weeks now, we are slowly but surely getting found out by other teams. However, there is one player in particular that I do have to pick on. It's none other than Stern John. Oh, sorry, did I say Stern John? I meant Marc-Antoine Fortuné. Although, if some of you can remember like me, 10 years ago, we had Stern John, and just like Fortuné, his movement is the cross between a snail and a dickhead. Now, some of you probably think that's a bit harsh. Well, frankly, I don't care, because if you was at the game, you all know what I'm talking about. Marc-Antoine Fortuné was second best to every ball that was played to him. Every time the ball was coming towards him, the Chesterfield defender was always there before him. And in the second half, I was one of the many fans that was standing on the gangways with my 2 friends, Joe and Michael. And I know, yes, you're not supposed to stand on the gangways. But then again, well, all I can say is, Chesterfield stewards, good job. Yes, in the second half we did look a lot better, even before the subs were made. But it was getting very desperate. We were all getting very frustrated and angry with the way things were going. We were losing to a side who'd lost something like 7 on the bounce and barely scored a goal. So, when Armstrong came on, he was very fast, very fluent, and very nearly got an equaliser not long after he came on. And I think the other sub was Murphy. He was pretty good, he did his bit. And even Marcus Tudguy was doing alright. And I know his goal scoring record isn't brilliant as a striker, but I would much rather have him than Marc-Antoine Fortuné, because at least Tudguy actually touches the ball, and when he gets the ball, he doesn't lose it at least he actually passes it and it gets to the other player. So, oh dear God. Yes, and then came a series of offsides. Even though Adam Armstrong was miles onside, and even if he was walking backwards, it was still called offside, even though there was no one else offside. And I thought my record was going to go. I'll go into that in a minute. But thankfully, we had a free kick in something like the 89th minute, I think it was. And James Maddison stepped up, scored the equaliser, and for the second time that man has pulled us out of the shit in successive games. And naturally all us City fans went mental. Me and Joe toppled on each other, thought we were going to get crushed. There was a couple of injuries from piling on each other, about 20 fans on the pitch. One fan went up to the keeper and the keeper put him on the floor, so therefore the Chesterfield keeper is just as bad as the fans who ran on the pitch, because you're supposed to control yourself and he didn't. And of course there was the City fan who put the cone on his head. No, seriously, genuine question. Where did the cone come from? Was it, I don't know, bring your own cone day or something? I don't know, just, yeah, it's just a bit of a random thing, really. Yeah, very strange one. And some people were asking, why were we going so mental over getting an equaliser against a struggling team like Chesterfield? Well, let me tell you the secret behind going mental over a goal in the dying minutes. Take for example the Chesterfield game. All round it was very, very frustrating through some of the chances that we had in the second half, the offsides which pissed us off, which weren't offsides, and when things like that happen, the anger builds up inside you, where you feel like, right, if we actually do get a goal, I am just going to let one rip. And I don't mean a fart. I'm just going to let it all out. And if, like I said before, if any of you were there, you know what I'm talking about. Lord knows I lost my voice and picked up a few injuries on my lower body. And about my record that I mentioned, since Boxing Day 2014, I have been to 12 games and not seen us lose one. Saw them win 8 and saw them draw 4. And finally, I know this is the best season we've had. The best start to a season we've had in our history. But that's just it. I don't want records. I want promotion. And like a lot of you, in the first 2 months of the season, I was saying, well, if this was last season, we wouldn't have won that. If that was last season, that would have only been a draw. If that was last season, we'd have lost that. And if this was last season, we wouldn't have been in that position. Well, the last 2.5 months or so, I just feel like you can only keep saying that so many times now, and I don't mean to be rude, but whenever I hear that, I just think all I can hear is blah 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 fucking blah, because it is becoming a bit of a tedious excuse, and whatever we've done so far this season we should be building on if we want the dark times at this football club to come to an end. But apart from the last month, it has been a terrific season and I have been happy. We haven't fallen off the rails, we've just slowed down a little bit. But with Alex Rose coming in from Seattle, hopefully he'll be starting in the new year, and hopefully sometime soon that Swede Martin Lorentzen should be starting too. And maybe, just maybe, we can keep some of our loan signings for the rest of the season. And as the year draws to a close, this is one of the few videos I made this year. And as I've ripped into Mark unFORTUNEate a couple of times in this episode, I'm thinking of writing a film about him called Touched by a Football. A man and a football who never thought they'd make contact. And then they did. Sonorama Production and Columbia Pictures brings you Touched by a Football. Yeah, I bet that's an Academy Award winner. And speaking the end of the year, it's New Year's Eve tomorrow, and I'm well prepared with this, and this, and these, and this. Oh shit. So my next game should be Southend away, which is at the end of January, so I'll maybe make an episode for that. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but until then, Happy New Year, ta-ta.